Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're going to explore the story of Microsoft.
Oh, yeah.
From its humble beginnings as a scrappy startup to the tech behemoth it is today.
Definitely a fascinating story.
It's a journey full of twists and turns, bold bets, and a few near misses along the way.
You know, what I find fascinating is how Microsoft's story really mirrors the evolution of the entire tech industry. It's a tale of vision, ambition, and the power of spotting a wave just as it's about to crest.
All right, so let's set the scene.
Okay.
Picture this. It's 1980, a crisp fall day in Seattle.
Okay.
A young Bill Gates is bundled up in a borrowed coat
Really?
at a University of Washington football game.
Interesting.
Now, you might think he'd be focused on the action on the field,
You'd think so, yeah.
but nope.
No.
He's totally engrossed in the lines of code. He's scribbling on a program, completely absorbed in his work.
That anecdote speaks volumes about Gates's laser focus, even in those early days.
Right.
But what's even more intriguing is who he's meeting with at that game.
Oh.
David Marquardt, a tech investor who would soon become Microsoft's first outside investor.
Wow.
This meeting wasn't just a chance encounter, it was a pivotal moment for the young company.
Okay, so at this point, Microsoft is just a small startup, right?
Yeah, very small.
They've got about 50 employees, and they've recently relocated to Bellevue, Washington.
Okay.
They're in the midst of developing a 16-bit operating system, MS-DOS, for a computer that was about to change the world,
Yeah.
the IBM PC.
And Marquardt, with his keen understanding of the tech landscape, sees something special in Microsoft.
Really?
Despite his partner's skepticism, they believed a software company couldn't possibly generate more than $10 million in revenue.
Wow.
Marquardt went with his gut.
He did.
He invested $1 million for a 5% stake in Microsoft.
Can you imagine having that kind of foresight?
Talk about a return on investment.
I know. That $20 million valuation blossomed into a multi-trillion-dollar company.
It's crazy.
It makes you wonder, what did Marquardt see that others missed? What made Microsoft stand out from the crowd?
Well, one key factor was their laser focus on software.
Okay.
Think about it. In the early days of the PC revolution, everyone was obsessed with hardware, building the machines themselves.
Yeah.
But Microsoft, they saw the future in software as a standalone business.
Really?
Pretty radical concept at the time.
That's a really interesting point. It was like they understood that the real value wasn't in the physical box, but in the brains behind it.
Exactly.
Wow.
And by focusing on software, Microsoft's potential market became as vast as the burgeoning world of personal computers.
Okay.
They weren't limited to selling their software for just one type of machine.
Right.
And this strategy really took off thanks to a seemingly minor detail in their deal with IBM for MS-DOS.
You've got me on the edge of my seat here.
Oh.
What was this minor detail that had such a massive impact?
It was a non-exclusivity clause in the IBM contract.
So,
This clause allowed Microsoft to license MS-DOS to other PC makers.
oh, okay.
It might sound simple, but it was a game changer.
Well, and I'm having trouble wrapping my head around that.
Sure.
How could letting other companies use their software be a good thing for Microsoft?
Okay, so
Wouldn't that create competition?
it did create competition, but it also created a massive market for Microsoft's product.
Oh.
This one clause allowed Microsoft to become the operating system for virtually every PC manufacturer.
Wow.
They were essentially selling the picks and shovels during a digital gold rush.
Interesting.
Everyone needed their software regardless of what computer they used.
That's incredible. It's like they turned a potential weakness into their biggest strength.
Yeah.
It makes you think about the importance of thinking outside the box and turning conventional wisdom on its head.
For sure.
But surely it wasn't all smooth sailing for Microsoft.
Oh, of course not.
There must have been challenges along the way, right?
Absolutely. Like,
Clear.
in those early years, Microsoft faced significant financial hurdles.
Oh, really?
There were times when they were scraping by, even having to borrow money from a new employee just to make payroll.
Seriously.
Imagine that happening today.
Wow, that's wild. A company like Microsoft struggling to make ends meet.
Yeah.
It really highlights just how risky their bet on software was at the time.
Definitely a risk.
Yeah.
And remember, the very idea of software as a paid product was still very new.
Oh, right.
Many people believe software should be free, shared amongst hobbyists and enthusiasts.
Okay.
Gates even wrote an open letter to hobbyists in 1976, where he addressed software piracy head-on.
Interesting.
He was trying to establish software as a legitimate, paid product, which wasn't an easy task back then.
It's fascinating to think how different the tech landscape might be if that perception hadn't changed.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, could you imagine trying to convince people to pay for apps today? It's just second nature now.
It really is, yeah.
Yeah.
But beyond their innovative business model,
Right.
another key ingredient in Microsoft's success was the dynamic duo at its helm,
Okay.
Bill Gates and Paul Allen. They were a remarkable partnership, each bringing a unique set of skills to the table.
So tell me, what was their dynamic like?
Okay, so
were they two sides of the same coin?
more like a perfect blend of different strengths.
Okay.
Gates, with his intense focus and business acumen, was the driving force behind Microsoft's strategic decisions.
Right.
He was relentless in his pursuit of market dominance.
Right.
And then you had Paul Allen,
Yeah.
the visionary,
Right.
who brought a broader perspective and a more balanced approach to life and work.
It sounds like they really complemented each other.
Yeah.
Like Gates was the gas pedal.
Yeah.
And Allen made sure they didn't run out of fuel or veer off the road.
That's a great analogy.
Yeah.
While Gates was known for his sometimes abrasive style,
Okay.
Allen's presence helped to temper that intensity and provided a counterpoint to Gates's hard-charging personality.
Right.
Their partnership is a great case study for anyone looking to build a successful team.
It's a reminder that even the most driven entrepreneurs can benefit from a partner who brings a different perspective.
Yeah.
And helps them see the bigger picture.
Exactly.
But all that intensity,
Yeah.
that drive to succeed, didn't it also create some friction within the company?
You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
Let's delve into that in the next part of our deep dive.
Okay.
Microsoft's early years were marked by a hard-charging, argumentative culture, and it had a significant impact on their trajectory.
All right. Looking forward to it.
Welcome back to the deep dive. As we were just discussing, Microsoft's early success was fueled by a potent mix of ambition,
Right.
innovation, and a pretty intense work culture.
Yeah, you mentioned an argumentative culture.
Yeah.
What was that like? Paint me a picture of the atmosphere at Microsoft in those early years.
Okay, so imagine a workplace where heated debates were the norm,
Okay.
where challenging the status quo was not just encouraged but expected.
Really?
It was a place where the best idea won, no matter who it came from. Bill Gates, in particular, was known for his sharp critiques. He'd often push back on ideas, sometimes declaring them the stupidest he'd ever heard.
Wow. That sounds intense. I guess that kind of environment could breed innovation,
Definitely.
but it also sounds like it could be pretty brutal.
It was a double-edged sword.
Okay.
On the one hand, that intensity helped Microsoft develop groundbreaking products at a rapid pace.
Right.
It pushed them to be the best, to constantly innovate and outperform their competitors. But on the other hand, it created a highly competitive and demanding environment.
Okay.
Some might even say it was toxic at times.
So how did this hard-charging culture ultimately affect Microsoft's trajectory?
Well, it definitely contributed to their aggressive business practices,
Okay.
which eventually landed them in hot water with the U.S. government.
Oh, right.
Remember that landmark antitrust case we talked about earlier? That was a direct result of concerns about Microsoft using its dominance in the operating system market to stifle competition.
Ah, right. It seems like a classic case of a company's greatest strength becoming its biggest weakness.
Yeah, for sure.
That drive to win, that relentless pursuit of market share, ultimately led to a major legal battle.
Exactly. And looking back, it's clear that while a certain level of drive and ambition is crucial for any successful startup, it needs to be balanced with a healthy dose of collaboration and ethical behavior.
Okay.
Today's successful companies understand that their most valuable asset is their people.
Right.
Fostering a positive and supportive culture is key to long-term success.
It's a good reminder that even the most brilliant minds need to operate within a framework of ethical conduct.
Yeah.
It's not enough to just be innovative.
Yeah.
You also have to be responsible.
For sure.
But let's shift gears a bit.
Okay.
And talk about another fascinating aspect of Bill Gates.
Yeah.
His tendency to downplay Microsoft's potential, even as the company was on the verge of explosive growth.
Oh, really?
How is that possible?
It might seem counterintuitive,
Yeah.
but Gates had a habit of downplaying expectations, even when it came to his own company.
So like what?
There's a story about him developing a formula to prove that a software company couldn't possibly exceed $10 million in revenue.
Wow.
And then there's his behavior leading up to Microsoft's IPO in 1986.
Wait, what? He was trying to lower the company's valuation right before it went public?
Yeah.
Why would he do that?
He genuinely believed that the initial valuation was too high
Okay.
and argued with the investment bankers to lower the IPO price.
Really?
It was a testament to his competitive nature and his desire to always exceed expectations.
Right.
He didn't want to set the bar too high,
Yeah.
preferring to surprise everyone with Microsoft's success.
That's an interesting strategy.
Yeah.
It's almost like he was playing a long game.
Yeah.
Instead of chasing short-term gains, he was focused on building a solid, sustainable business for the long haul. It's a valuable lesson for entrepreneurs today.
Definitely.
Sometimes it's better to underpromise and overdeliver.
Absolutely. And that focus on sustainability was also reflected in Microsoft's decision to move to the Seattle area. That choice turned out to be a strategic masterstroke.
You know, it's easy to forget that geography used to play a much bigger role in a company's success.
Right.
In today's world of remote work and globalized tech hubs, location seems less important. But back then, being in the right place at the right time could make or break a company.
Totally.
So why Seattle? What made it such a good fit for Microsoft?
Well, for starters, both Bill Gates and Paul Allen had roots in the area.
Okay.
But beyond that personal connection, Seattle offered a lot of advantages.
Like what?
The University of Washington had a top-notch computer science program.
Okay.
So there was a steady stream of talented engineers graduating each year.
Right.
Plus, compared to Silicon Valley, Seattle offered a less competitive environment with a lower cost of living.
So they were able to tap into a pool of top-tier talent without having to pay Silicon Valley prices.
Exactly.
Smart move. It's a reminder that sometimes the best opportunities lie in unexpected places.
For sure. And, one of the most important takeaways from Microsoft's journey is their knack for recognizing and capitalizing on major technological disruptions.
Right.
David Marquardt, that early investor we discussed, has talked about how Microsoft consistently found success by riding the waves of these technological shifts,
Right.
starting with the rise of the personal computer itself.
So they had this incredible ability to spot the next big thing,
Yeah.
to anticipate where the market was heading, and to position themselves perfectly to take advantage of it.
Precisely.
Wow.
But they didn't stop there.
Right.
They went on to capitalize on the internet boom,
Yeah.
the rise of mobile devices,
Okay.
and now the cloud computing revolution.
Right.
Each time, they adapted, evolved, and found new ways to leverage their expertise and resources.
It's an incredible story of adaptability and resilience.
Yeah, for sure.
They faced setbacks, made mistakes,
Yeah.
but they always managed to bounce back and come out stronger.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And speaking of adapting,
Yeah.
one of the most pivotal moments in Microsoft's history was the development of Windows.
Okay.
It was a bold move that transformed the way we interact with computers
Right.
and took Microsoft to a whole new level.
Yeah. Windows. That iconic interface with its colorful icons and user-friendly design is something we all take for granted today.
Yeah.
But back in the early 1980s, the concept of a graphical user interface, or GUI, was still in its infancy.
Right.
So what sparked Microsoft's interest in developing a GUI?
Well, it all started with a visit to Xerox PRC,
Okay.
a legendary research center known for its groundbreaking innovations in computing.
Right.
Bill Gates and his team saw a demonstration of the Xerox Alto,
Right.
a revolutionary computer that featured a graphical interface with windows, icons, and a mouse.
Oh, wow.
It was a glimpse into the future of computing.
Yeah.
And Gates was immediately captivated.
He was.
He saw the potential of a GUI to make computers more user-friendly
Right.
and accessible to a wider audience.
So it was like a light bulb moment. Like, he saw this technology and knew he had to bring it to the world.
Exactly. And that vision was perfectly aligned with Microsoft's mission.
What was that?
A PC on every desk and in every home.
Wow.
Gates realized that a graphical interface would be the key to unlocking the power of personal computing for the masses.
It's amazing how one visit can spark a revolution.
I know, right?
I mean, think about it. If Gates hadn't seen that demonstration at Xerox PARC, who knows how long it would have taken for the GUI to become mainstream.
That's a great point. And, it's a reminder that inspiration can come from unexpected places.
Right.
It's about being open to new ideas and being willing to learn from others, even your competitors.
Right.
So Microsoft set out to create its own GUI.
Right.
And in 1985, they released the first version of Windows.
They did.
But it wasn't exactly a smash hit right out of the gate, was it?
I remember using those early versions of Windows.
Oh, yeah.
They were a bit clunky compared to what we're used to today.
Yeah.
So what were some of the challenges they faced?
Well, for one, the initial release of Windows 1.0 was more of a graphical shell that ran on top of MS-DOS.
Oh.
Rather than a full-fledged operating system.
Okay.
It lacked the polish and functionality of the Macintosh,
Right.
Apple's groundbreaking computer that had debuted a year earlier with a more sophisticated GUI.
Ah, the Macintosh. That was a game changer in terms of user experience.
Totally.
It seems like Microsoft had some catching up to do.
Yeah.
So how did they respond? Did they just give up?
Not at all. They were determined to make Windows a success.
Oh, okay.
They doubled down on development, releasing a series of updates and improvements over the next few years.
Oh, okay.
They were relentless in their pursuit of a better user experience.
It's impressive how they didn't let initial setbacks deter them. They kept iterating and improving until they got it right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's a valuable lesson for anyone working on a challenging project.
Okay.
Don't be afraid to fail,
Right.
to experiment,
Mm-hmm.
and to keep refining your ideas until you achieve your goals.
By the time Windows 3.0 came out in 1990,
Yeah,
it had become a major hit,
it had.
finally surpassing the Macintosh in popularity.
Now that was a pivotal moment for Microsoft.
Right.
Windows 3.0 cemented their dominance in the PC operating system market.
Yeah.
They basically had a monopoly.
You're right. It was a testament to their persistence,
Yeah.
their willingness to iterate and improve, and their ability to learn from their mistakes.
For sure.
The early versions of Windows might not have been perfect,
Yeah.
but they kept refining their product,
Right.
listening to user feedback, and pushing the boundaries of what was possible.
Exactly. It's like their approach to MS-DOS.
Yeah.
Start with a good idea.
Okay.
Keep refining it. And eventually you'll have a game changer on your hands.
But that dominance,
Yeah.
that market share, wasn't it also a source of controversy?
It was.
Didn't they get into trouble for being too successful?
You're absolutely right. Let's unpack that in the next part of our deep dive.
Okay.
As Microsoft's influence grew,
Right.
so did concerns about their aggressive business practices and their potential to stifle competition.
Welcome back to the deep dive. We've been tracing the incredible journey of Microsoft from its scrappy startup days to its reign as a software titan. But as we left off, their very success was starting to raise eyebrows, and not in a good way.
You're right. As Microsoft's influence grew, so did concerns about their business practices. Some people felt they were using their dominance to stifle competition, especially when it came to the burgeoning internet browser market.
Ah, yes, the infamous browser wars of the late 90s. This was the era of dial-up modems and those clunky, slow internet connections, right? Back when the internet was still a relatively new thing for most people.
Exactly. And this was when Microsoft really flexed its muscles. They bundled their Internet Explorer browser with Windows, making it the default browser for millions of users. This move, while savvy from a business perspective, raised concerns about fair competition.
It's like they were leveraging their control over the operating system to give their own browser an unfair advantage.
Right.
I can see why that would ruffle some feathers.
And ruffle feathers it did. It all culminated in that landmark antitrust case brought against Microsoft by the U.S. Department of Justice in 1998. This case dragged on for years, ultimately ending in a settlement that required Microsoft to make significant changes to its business practices.
This was a huge deal. It forced Microsoft to reevaluate its approach and be more mindful of the potential consequences of its market dominance.
Yeah.
It's a reminder that even the most successful companies aren't above the law, and that ethical considerations should always be a top priority.
Absolutely. The antitrust case was a watershed moment for Microsoft. It marked the end of an era, and it signaled that the tech landscape was changing. New challenges were emerging, and Microsoft needed to adapt.
This was right around the time the internet was really starting to take off and the dot-com boom was in full swing. A whole new wave of tech companies were emerging, challenging Microsoft's dominance, and then, of course, came the mobile revolution.
You're right. The rise of smartphones, led by Apple's iPhone and Google's Android, completely disrupted the tech industry. Suddenly, the PC was no longer the center of the digital universe. Microsoft, which had built its empire on the PC, initially struggled to adapt to this new mobile-first world. Their early attempts to enter the smartphone market with Windows Mobile were met with a lukewarm reception.
It's almost as if they were caught flat-footed. They had been so focused on the PC that they missed the boat on mobile. It's a cautionary tale about the importance of staying agile and anticipating the next big thing.
It certainly is. But to their credit, Microsoft eventually recognized the need for a fundamental shift in strategy, and that shift was spearheaded by Satya Nadella, who took over as CEO in 2014. Nadella is often credited with leading Microsoft's remarkable turnaround, transforming it into a cloud-first, mobile-first powerhouse.
So what was Nadella's secret sauce? How did he manage to steer this massive ship in a completely new direction.
Well, one of his key moves was to foster a more open and collaborative culture within Microsoft. This was a stark contrast to the more aggressive, win-at-all-costs mentality of the past. He recognized that in the rapidly evolving world of technology, collaboration, and partnerships were essential for success.
It's amazing how the culture of a company can have such a profound impact on its trajectory. In Microsoft's case, the very culture that had fueled its rise eventually became a hindrance and had to be reevaluated. That's a valuable lesson for any organization, really.
Absolutely. And Nadella didn't just focus on culture. He also made some bold strategic decisions. He recognized the enormous potential of cloud computing and made Azure, Microsoft's cloud platform, a top priority.
Azure has become a major player in the cloud space, going head-to-head with Amazon Web Services and Google Cloud. It's been a key driver of Microsoft's resurgence, generating billions in revenue and attracting countless businesses to its platform.
And it's not just Azure. Microsoft also made some strategic acquisitions like LinkedIn and GitHub. These acquisitions expanded their reach and capabilities in key areas, further strengthening their position in the tech landscape.
It's almost as if they went on a shopping spree, picking up all the right pieces to build this incredible tech ecosystem.
Yeah.
But what about their core business? What happened to Windows?
Windows is still a major part of their business, but they've had to adapt. They've embraced a more device-agnostic approach, making their software and services available on a wide range of platforms, including iOS and Android. They've also continued to innovate, with Windows introducing new features and capabilities to keep pace with the evolving needs of users.
So they've managed to stay relevant in a world that's moved beyond the PC. That's pretty impressive. But what about the future?
Right.
What's next for Microsoft?
Well, the tech landscape is constantly shifting, and new challenges and opportunities are always emerging. But one thing is certain. Microsoft will continue to play a major role in shaping the future of technology. They're investing heavily in cutting-edge areas like artificial intelligence, machine learning, and quantum computing. These technologies have the potential to revolutionize countless industries, and Microsoft is positioning itself to be at the forefront of this revolution.
It's exciting to think about the possibilities. It seems like we're on the cusp of a new technological era, and Microsoft is right there in the thick of it. But as we wrap up our deep dive into Microsoft's story, I'm left with a few key takeaways.
Oh, yeah. I'm curious to hear your thoughts. What stands out to you?
Well, first of all, I think Microsoft's journey is a testament to the power of vision, innovation, and adaptability. They've faced countless challenges over the years, but they've always managed to find a way to overcome them and come out stronger on the other side.
I agree. Their ability to adapt to change is truly remarkable.
And secondly, I think their story highlights the importance of culture. The culture of a company can either propel it forward or hold it back. Microsoft's own experience shows how crucial it is to foster a culture of collaboration, innovation, and ethical behavior.
That's a key insight.
Hmm.
Culture is often overlooked, but it's the foundation upon which everything else is built.
And finally, I think Microsoft's story is a reminder that success is never guaranteed. Even the most dominant companies can fall behind if they fail to anticipate and adapt to change. It's a lesson that we can all learn from, whether we're running a tech company or just trying to navigate our own careers.
Those are all excellent points. And as we conclude this deep dive, I think the most important question to ask ourselves is, what can we learn from Microsoft's journey and apply to our own lives and careers?
That's a great question to ponder. I guess it all comes down to embracing change, staying curious, and never giving up on our dreams, no matter how challenging the path may seem.
Well said. And who knows, maybe the next Microsoft is just around the corner waiting to be discovered.